Howdy design fans, and welcome back. In this lecture I want to talk to you about common business models found on the web and the different conversion actions that tend to be associated with those different business models. This all might be very obvious to you, but I think it's important as it relates to landing page design and the skills that we're going to be learning in this course, because everything we're doing with landing page optimization, creating better design, testing our different color schemes and different information architecture and visual hierarchies, all that is meaningless unless it improves conversion rate, which means we get more people taking the actions we want them to take. So let's just take a second to talk about the different types of conversion actions that you might be wanting to track, which is very heavily influenced by the type of business you are. So first, what is a conversion, right? We spoke about conversion rate as a percentage. A conversion is essentially made up of three components. It has to be an action. Okay, so it has to be trackable. Trackable is synonymous with measurable. So an action could be a click, it could be a download, it could be a sale, it could be a sign up, it could be a page view. Okay, but it has to be some sort of action. It cannot be a thought or a feeling. We're not tracking feelings or thoughts yet with modern technology, but maybe that's to come. And it has to have a clearly defined value. Okay, so let's dive in and just quickly go over the different types of business models that are commonly found on the web. E-commerce, right? So you're selling stuff. You're selling stuff online. Very simple. So the most popular conversion action for an e-commerce site is going to be a sale. In order to generate e-commerce sales, you need the highest level of user commitment and user engagement with your brand. It's very, very hard to get people to take out their wallet and buy something from you. We think it's easy. Clients come and they want to sell stuff online and they think it's easy, but in fact, it's not easy. It takes a huge level of commitment, a huge level of trust, and we're going to talk about trust and brand loyalty to do that. I never talk about average conversion rates, but industry-wide, there tends to be this 1% to 2% benchmark for average conversion rate on e-commerce sites. And of course, it ranges tremendously based on the price of your product, based on the type of visitor you're getting, based on the marketing campaign you're running, the quality of the traffic coming to your site, how well optimized your landing pages are. But we tend to see this sort of average. And we have clients that have a 20% conversion rate for e-commerce, and we have clients that are well below a 1%. But if you really wanted to talk about an average that's kind of accepted, we're looking at 1.5% to 2.5% really average conversion rate for e-commerce. The second most popular type of website is lead gen, right? If you're not selling stuff online, if people cannot check out with a shopping cart online, there's probably some sort of way for them to get in touch with you, either with a phone call or a form submission. Now, typically lead gen is promoting a service. You know, an attorney, an accountant, universities. These are all going to be lead gen campaigns that promote a service where the primary call to action, the primary conversion action is going to be an email, a phone call, a form submission, or downloading content, right? Downloading a white paper, a case study, or an ebook. But lead gen is not just for services. You have higher level products, right? Oftentimes you have these very expensive B2B products or even expensive, rare consumer products that are not bought and sold on the internet itself. You need to submit a form, you get more information, you request a quote, you get something priced out in a custom way. There's plenty of businesses like that, and I imagine many of you have those types of businesses where your conversion action centers around lead gen, although you do sell physical goods. You need a lower level commitment, not to actually buy the ultimate service or buy the ultimate product, but to convert on a lead gen site. You need less commitment. It takes less to convert a lead gen site, to convert a lead gen lead than to convert an e-commerce lead. Typically with lead gen, you're going to see form submissions are capturing leads at an earlier stage. A lot of lead gen companies, especially in the service sector, there's a longer sales cycle. In the next couple lectures, we're going to talk about the length of the sales cycle, but these are, we talk about this idea of nurturing, right? You've heard the concept of nurturing your leads. Getting somebody in with a free content or a contact us form or a newsletter sign up and then sending them supporting information and giving them value in exchange for engagement. So you're bartering value, you're bartering content, and in return you're getting brand awareness and getting brand engagement from those people. So that's the idea behind lead gen. Then you have the next kind of two most popular category of sites, and they're quite similar, are publishers. So you have big news sites like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. They don't necessarily sell anything on their site per se as it relates to lead gen and e-commerce, but they primarily make money through ad revenue. They want a lot of people coming to their site. It's worthwhile for them to buy and pay for traffic. because they make a lot of money from ad revenue. They give away free content in exchange for you to read it, and they get paid by advertisers. A lot of publishers, and we're going to talk about individual bloggers, are seeing a decline in ad revenue over the last few years, and you see more of these premium subscription options cropping up. Obviously, something like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal has had premium subscription models for a long, long time, but we're seeing those kind of cropping up with greater prevalence nowadays. And that's another way they can monetize, and that would be another potential conversion action. The most common forms of conversion actions for publishers are going to be page views, TOS, time on site, frequency of visitors, new and returning visitors. Advertisers want to see people coming back to the site. That gives the site high level of credibility. And the click-through rate of ads. That's another big factor. Believe it or not, publishers want a good contingency of their readers actually going and clicking on ads. That's how they make money. And then you have the same thing here with personal blogs, right? A lot of you might be looking to promote your personal blog. It's much more niche-oriented than a major publisher. They could be personal blogs, they could be professional blogs. So your typical conversion action is going to be, you're going to be looking at newsletter signups, right? People who are going to sign up for your newsletter, you're going to send them, you're going to continue to engage. That concept of bartering engagement for free value. Social shares, comments on the blog posts. You might also be monetizing your blog. If you have enough visitors, you'll be monetizing your blog with ad revenue. You might be upselling them to an affiliate product or to one of your own products. You might have a product on Amazon and you're using your blog readership to send traffic to your Amazon product or an affiliate product. I've seen plenty of clients and companies like that. That's the four major categories of business models on the web. Now, desired conversion actions. Let's just talk briefly about this, right? So sales. Sales is the most complicated. It becomes simpler when you have one product, but it's very complicated when you have multiple products because the value, remember this idea of putting a value on a sale, is very multidimensional when we talk about e-commerce because you have to account for all the different things that add value to a sale. So lifetime value of a client. This is a big thing that we talk to our customers about every single day. When you come to me and you tell me that you could afford $20 cost per conversion to break even because your product sells for $40 and you have a 50% profit margin, so you're really only profiting $20 and you're going to break even on a $20 cost per acquisition, we ask the client, does that customer tend to buy from you again down the road? They're like, sure, they'll buy 3-4 products over the course of their lifetime. And I say, do you have to buy that traffic to your site every time they purchase from you? No. Okay, so then your break-even point is not $20, it's much more. So you have to account for things like that, your lifetime value. You want to look at your revenue per visitor. That's another very, very important metric, revenue per visitor. Margins. Not every one of your product or product categories will have the same margins. You might have certain products that might be really expensive with really low margins, or just the flip side. Every company operates in different ways. On a similar note as margins, you have loss leaders, right? Lots of times companies will promote heavily and lose money on a certain product, and they'll make up that money with the higher margins with ancillary products or accessory products or products that are typically bought after that loss leader is purchased. This is a common thing with Best Buy. Best Buy will offer price match and they'll offer great deals on the essential item like the laptop or the TV, but they make up a huge amount of their profit from pumping up the margins on things like cables and cases and all the accessories and ancillary products. So sales are complicated, right? But the main thing is that sales is an action. It has a clear value that you could determine if you know how to do the formulas, and it's measurable, right? And all that stuff is trackable. Subscriptions is very, very related to the publisher sites, blog sites, and you have SaaS, right? There's another big business model, software as a service. You sell subscriptions on a monthly basis to your CRM software or your music subscription, right? So you want people to subscribe for your service. So if you're talking about e-commerce, if it's people who are going to be paying money for your subscription, so then again, you need that high level of commitment and you need to optimize your pages for generating a higher level of commitment. If you're talking about publishers, once again, we saw that there's this big decline in ad revenue, an increase in freemium and premium subscriptions, and you want to be tracking the rate at which visitors who land on your site also end up converting to one of your premium or freemium subscription plans, but it's the same concept with e-commerce. It's the same percentage rate. Form fill rate for lead gen, right? Very simple calculation. Percent of people who start and finish a form. There's two different types of form fill rates. The percentage of people who start a form, a lot of times people will not complete a form. We tend to think of forms as email, name, and number, but there are university lead gen campaigns that have very long forms. We had a client that was in insurance claims, and they had a 6-page form. So we were tracking people who began the form and people who finished the form. That's the form fill rate. But you also have the form completion rate, which is, you can interchange the words, but that metric is referring to people, the percentage of people who come to your site who actually submit a form, as opposed to the percentage of people who begin a form and who complete the form. But those are both important metrics to track, and they're both trackable. The main thing is the completion of the form has a value, right? The completion of the form has a value. If you know that, just as a quick example, if you know that you turn 50% of your form submissions into clients, right? And the average value of one of your clients is $3,000. So the value of a form is how much? $1,500, right? Because you're only going to convert 50%, which means that 1 out of every 2 forms does not turn a profit or any revenue for the company. So you're willing to pay up to $1,500 for a form submission because you're going to pay $3,000 per client and break even in that scenario. So that's something which is important to understand with form submissions. You have to calculate how many form submissions, on average, the rate of form submissions that turn into clients to get your value for a form submission. You also have conversion actions like downloads, where you're seeing a big rise in this now in modern landing pages and how companies are structuring their campaigns. And I think it's great. This is the whole concept that Seth Godin talks about, which is permission marketing, moving away from interruptive marketing. I'm going to give you an ebook, a case study, a white paper, without it being gated, without it being in front of a form submission at all. You could just have it, just download it, right? Here's a case study, download. But the nice thing about web analytics is that it's trackable. And you could have analytics, you could have historic data on the percentage of people who download a form that become a client, and what types of clients or what types of customers do they typically become. So you could put a value to a free download. And the download rate is the percentage of visitors who download the content. And the greater this percentage number is, the better optimized your pages are for downloads, right? Very simple. So as you're seeing, there's a trend across all these different types of conversion actions. They all vary in the degree of difficulty, the degree of likelihood that you're going to get visitors to convert, but they all are actions that are measurable and trackable, and that while they might be tricky, you could put a value to them. So let's just flip this over here and finish up this lecture. It's important to note that we don't live in a single conversion world, all right? A lot of you were probably thinking this as we discussed the topics on the other side of the board. Say, hey, Isaac, this is all great, but I'm tracking multiple conversions. I want people to view my contact page. I want people to sign up for my newsletter. I want people to share my page on social media. I want people to buy from me. I want people to fill out my form. You want all these things. And it's true. Most websites do see value in multiple actions. But that's fine. And you're going to learn how to understand conversion rate optimization on a page-by-page basis and on a conversion-by-conversion basis. The first thing to drill into your head that's going to help you organize everything is that every page on your site should have one primary conversion action. There are very few instances where that rule should be broken. Every page should have just one primary conversion action. If you have a supporting conversion action, if you remember a few minutes ago in the previous lecture, we spoke about the Surf Camp landing page we made, where there was the watch the video conversion action. Don't give it the same visual weight. If it's a supporting conversion action, don't give it the same visual weight as your primary conversion action. And the primary conversion action is the action you want visitors to take on that particular page. Now, it's not always a sale. Imagine this. Say you go back to that Macy's page we looked at, and you had a lot of different individual products or product categories that a user could navigate further into. Macy's primary conversion action for that page is not a sale. They want you to navigate and find the product you want to buy first and learn about that product. That's the primary conversion action for that page. If anything, the add to cart buttons might be secondary for that page because they know, based on their web analytics, that that is very unlikely to happen from a product category page. So the primary conversion action is to get people further into the buying process, further into the buying funnel. It's okay to have multiple ways for a potential prospect to get in touch with you, right? You could have a phone call. You could have a form submission. You could have your direct email address. But the most important thing is you have to be clear on what the best option is for the user to take to get in touch with you. I've seen this so many times on landing pages. You get to the bottom, you have the big call to action block, and you have a big form, and then you have a huge phone number, then you have the direct email. Don't do that. Don't make the prospect think how you want them to get in touch with you. If you want to drive phone calls, then give your phone number the greatest visual prominence. If you want form submissions, the same thing. We're going to talk about the idea of not making the user think more than they have to, or adding any sort of cognitive load on the visitor. We've mentioned that before. We're going to continue to mention it again. I'm going to continue to drill that concept into your head. But the most important thing is to be very clear on the best way for them to get in touch with you, because you could have multiple ways to convert on one action, which might be lead gen. But make it clear exactly how you want your visitors to get in touch with you. Before the exercise, I just want to talk about one more thing. Good design has one conversion in mind. Not only should every landing page be optimized for one conversion, but they're typically mutually exclusive. When you design for one conversion action, if you design to go further into the sales cycle, to go from a category page to the product page, and then the product page should take you to the shopping cart, when you design for that, you're going to be detracting from the conversion, the secondary conversion action, which might be to add to the cart from the category page itself. So they're mutually exclusive. As you design for one conversion action, the likelihood of your secondary conversion action or another conversion action happening goes down. And this is the same thing that we're going to see soon with different types of visitors at different stages in the buying funnel. If you have somebody who's just becoming aware of your product, right? If you design for awareness, you're going to take down the likelihood that they're going to actually act or transact or take an action. Okay, so they're mutually exclusive. So we spoke about how we don't live in a single conversion world. We spoke about different types of business models. We spoke about all the different types of conversion actions. So as a quick exercise to kind of help, once again, solidify this information, go to your website and choose 2 to 3 different conversion actions your visitors might take, or conversion actions that you want your visitors to take. Then identify 3 key pages on your site. So obviously not your privacy policy page, not some random page on your site, not a blog page, unless that's a key page. 3 key pages like a sign-up page, a conversion page, a sales page, and identify the primary conversion action for that page. After you identify the primary conversion action, try to get a sense of all these different things we've spoken about in terms of clarity, visual hierarchy. Are you making it clear how you want the user to convert? That it's an intuitive next step for that page. And then thirdly, ask yourself this, and this is very important because just to circle back to the beginning of this lecture, it's all the things we're doing with good design and all the principles we're going to learn about good design and how to really put together a landing page that has a high chance of converting. It's only meaningful to the extent that it increases conversions, and we're going to only be able to know that if the conversions are measurable. So ask yourself, the conversions actions that you chose in step 1 and 2, are they measurable? And even if you don't have a clearly defined value now, and I understand that a lot of people might not understand the value of their conversions, but could they be given a clear value? And if you answer those questions, you're going to have a very, very good sense of how to take the next steps and to actually redesign your pages so you're going to convert more. So, very exciting stuff. Not as exciting as we're going to get into. We're going to get into even more exciting stuff. I thank you for bearing with me through all this, and I will see you guys very soon in the very next lecture.